you can hear that noise. It's a sewer system noise. You know, I'm leaving the parking lot where I was after I talked to the nice lady at the that manages or works at the greenhouse next to it. And, like my people skills are awesome. Okay, they're better than the norm, especially for strangers, talking to strangers, right? And I hinted, oh, I wish I already knew you and the other lady because the subjects you were talking about, I would have liked to get in. And I said, thanks for helping. She took pictures of my resume and sent it to a few people on their phone. Thank you. And I said, I guess I was looking for a little bit of interaction, but I guess I can talk like a customer. And I was asking about getting 3 spices, like I had before. I gave it to the tribe that I hope took care of it. That I left in the wintertime, and because of my people skills, and but it was like it'd be like $15 with tax to replace the gift from the Mrs. Wise from Vancouver Island that I interacted with and stayed with and had some win-win scenarios with for a while on Vancouver Island in Parksville. But people in small towns, they look at me like, even though she would say, "Oh no, that was a nice person," they look at me like, "Who's that guy?" And automatically negative, danger, no trust, alert. Even like, and by the way, with the people skills I have, there's no way you can assume I'm a drug addict or like uneducated person or whatever. So then you got to ask yourself this, like, what makes you just hate strangers? Because if it's one person that approaches you in a respectful way and with, like a desire to know about you and your community, and you still look at them in this way, like, can you imagine places where they have rush of refugees? And I mean, some of them are children. They have the advantage sometimes of a percentage of people not harming them or judging them because they're children, while there's also people that will target them more because they're children. It's pretty sad. Now, of course, I have my criminal record check, and but if some people might think really horrible things, that's how closed-minded they are. Now, closed-minded, by the way, is another way of saying wrong about things. So if you're wrong about things most of the time because you're closed-minded and you're not in a coma where the thoughts only impact you, but you actually have thoughts that impact behaviors among other people, yeah, you're dangerous to life on this planet, which of course means religious people and people that pursue money and scientists that mingle with those other 2 paradigms I just named. So let me create more schemas. Okay, so you see this? The Republic of Vancouver Island. Now, you might think I'm promoting how great Vancouver Island is. No, not at all. I didn't leave there because they were on the way to, cultural evolution. I left there because they were devolving in a way that is a paradise that breaks my heart to see devolve. And it's not because of anything other than the people primates I share DNA with. Now, when I say republic here, or they say this is what really I kind of like as an idea, because it's one of the solutions I've been promoting in my writing and my blogs. Is you got to downgrade, you got to become more independent, you got to get out of this global monopoly game, you got to learn a lot of skill sets to sustain yourselves. So that's why I say this. And also, it'd be safe for them to start acting like this before earthquakes and more collapse of your failing social systems, when you're so dependent on mainland, that is dependent on other parts of Canada, that is dependent on other countries, and you see what's going on now is everybody thinks that they have to be aggressive and break all the rules of monopoly instead of saying, hey, the world's not a monopoly game. But that's what's happening. So I got to build schemas and explain things to you guys. So for example, if people say, hey, your vlogs are too long, and I look at a YouTube video that says very little, and let's say 7 minutes, and that's as short as they can make what they want to say, which is still, it's, for me, it's obvious stuff. But there's nice clothes, there's like a microphone, there's an audience, a nice stage, there's lights, and oh, that's what I want to see. Except you might be impressed by the idea for a minute, but you're not going to change your lifestyle because of it. So for me to make huge efforts to bring it down, I have plenty of videos that are like less than 2 minutes, and hardly anybody looks at them. And they don't even reach half of the number of subscribers I supposedly have in views. So, like, how do you explain this? So, for example, if somebody says a term, I don't know, you could say socialism. let's say, okay, and I don't use these terms. I want to define things. I don't want to ask people, hey, what do you mean? Are you talking about, well, like, what do you mean by using that word? What does that mean? Can you define? And if we don't do this at a time of history where we're losing language, we don't actually learn to be better listeners and making sure we got the message, and just keep popping words that we all define differently and that we or incorrectly and spread it, then it doesn't make sense. So my schemas are often defining things, because even if I find the right word, and most of you, even your best academics, define that word if you know it, because it's a rare thing that people would know it, and you define it differently, or you assume things in the meaning of context, is again, I got to do a lot of logs. I got to recreate these schemas. I got to make sure I define things in a way that doesn't use one word, because that's a flaw now with how lazy you've gotten intellectually or with your own languages to use one word that nobody defines the same way or uses the same way. So how do I do this and shorten my vlogs? It's not even possible. And again, my vlogs are not for me to think they're successful if they have more views, but it is for me to be congruent, consistent, and accurate. And if I ever discover I'm not, to correct it, and correct it in a transparent way. That's pretty much my only goal.